PS4 Pro motherboard. Let me show you what's going on with it. We have ourselves a real beauty here. So the client's client ripped off the connector and then attempted their own repair of the connector. I'm not really sure what they thought they were going to be able to do after they ripped off all the pads, but anyway, I don't think they did catastrophic damage to the connector, so that's a good thing. I think we can still work with it. If not, I'll have to source up a donor. I think I have one laying around somewhere. But we'll try and salvage that one first. But first thing we're going to have to worry about is fixing these pads. So that will be the job on hand. Let's get started. And the first thing we're going to do is going to grab our little grinding pin and start grinding away at some vias and surrounding ground plane so we can run jumpers. Now I'm probably going to need to break some of this off or cut some of it off. Don't want to be soldering to compromised traces. It'll just complicate things. Oh, this trace is kind of compromised, but it might be salvageable. I think what we'll do is we'll conformal coat this one, but I don't want to get rid of the pad if we can avoid it. This though is beyond hope. There we go. I'm going to scrape off a little on this one so that I can test and make sure we still have non-intermittent continuity. It is a ground one, so I'm not that concerned. Actually, I'm not really concerned at all about that one now. If any of you seen me do this before, you know I'm setting up to solder down some copper tape to replace these ground pads. We will just solder the tape directly to it. The tape portion of it is of no consequence, it's the copper. Or after. This one will have to approach a little differently. I'm going to want some more structural integrity around the side of this one. This one's got two good pads that we can do. This one's going to be a little more iffy. So we'll have to get around and get a decent connection all around it. Get the integrity we're looking for. Alright. I think that's all we really need. Alright, and before I begin soldering, let me throw my expected temperatures for this job. I do not expect we will use any hot air, but these should be the iron temperatures that we use. Some flux. I'm going to tin these up. Okay, I've gone with some indirect lighting so we can see the work a little bit better without the glare. Alright, so my approach is going to be run along jumper, run along jumper. When we put the port back on, I'm going to wrap those jumpers around the pins on these two. Here I'm going to run copper tape, here I'm going to run copper tape, and here I'm going to run copper tape. That's the approach we're going to take. It worked on the last one I did, so yeah, seems like a reasonable approach. First we will run the jumpers. Alright, so I'm going to run it a little bit long on this side too so I can secure them down well once we're done. Just feeling like the Pico pencil doesn't have the oomph on this one. Okay, feels good. Just tug on it a little bit. Doesn't come off. It's a pretty good joint. Alright, that should be adequate. We had to do a little bit of routing on that one to get it center pad. We should be okay. It's not really critical when we do it this way because we're, like I said, we're just going to be wrapping it around the pin. Alright, now let's look at our bigger issues. Alright, see if we can eye this a little bit. That wasn't too shabby for eyeing it. Alright, that feels pretty solid, but we will, again, we will secure this down with UV solder mask, like we're going to do pretty much everything. I don't think we eyed this one as well. Just yet, anyway. What about there? Over a bit. I'm not worried about it touching the ground plane because it is ground. Alright. It's a little bare, still a little wide, but it's fine. It'll work. There's really no way to make this look pretty, so it's the price of pulling your connector off the board. It will never be pretty again. That should be quite solid. Now I need to set up for UV solder mask. We'll secure everything down and prep it for the port. Okay, we're cleaned up pretty well. You want to make sure you get all the flux off when you're doing this type of stuff. UV curing, or curing the UV on top of flux doesn't usually serve much purpose. Again, this won't be very pretty. But we're not looking for pretty, we're looking for secure. It'll actually end up stronger at the end of this exercise than it was out of the factory. Do want to thin it out a bit though. Just makes for long cure times if it's too thick. Spread out these thicker globs. Spread it over here to help that. I may have to tack these down with the laser. Make sure you get over the solder joint. When we're soldering the wires to the legs, the heat will travel up the wire and probably wet the solder joint, or it can if you're on there too long. So having the UV cure over it will at least hold it in place anyway. back down with the laser. That's fine. Okay, I'm going to hold these flat to the board and tack them down real quick. Doesn't take long. Just want it to be held down. Flat. Alright. Okay, I'm going to grab my UV lamp and sit it on here and just let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes and get a good cure, and then we'll come back. Oh shoot, what am I doing? Actually, I'm making an error here. I don't want to secure down the jumper wires on this side. I'm being goofy. Whoops. My mistake. Yeah, we don't want to secure these down because we're actually going to be wrapping them around the wires. I'm getting into auto mode. Typically, on any other type of job, I would secure them down both sides, but not this time. I'm wrapping these around the pins. So, anyway, I'm going to go grab my UV lamp, sit on here, take a break, and while this cures, and then we'll be back. We are curing. Okay, took a small break. Everything seems to be rock solid now. For the most part, anyway. And we still got a little goopy there. It's fine. It's not essential. Everything else seems to be good. The real test, as always, will be when we go to tin these things. I'm not worried about tinning the jumper wire, but I do want to tin these pads, and we don't want them floating around when I'm tinning them. So do kind of want a glob on these anchors. All right, I think we're kind of done with that portion. Now we need to deal with this portion. We need some flux. So we can get off whatever this attempt it was. Stop knocking me out of my hand. Alright, we only melted a little bit on the side, so as one solid connector. I really like the jumper wire to go under and then over. Black soap. I wouldn't mind if we could do it a second time. That will take some coordination. You have sometimes, and then sometimes you don't. There we go. Okay, that'll be very nice. Very good. See if we can accomplish something similar with the other one. I think we'll have to remove some solder from it as well. The first loop isn't the hard part, this is the second loop. If we have excess, we can just cut it off with a dill or wiggle it off. Alright kids, that's really it. I'm going to clean it up and we'll do a final inspection. Alright, by no means a work of art. Well, I guess it could be classified as a work, as modern art. But it is secure. It is very well secured on the board. Everything's making contact that should be. I did put a little bit of conformal coating in between those last two pins. There was a little bit of a solder mask coming up on that ground trace, and I was afraid of it making contact with that other trace. So I did cover that up, but other than that, and it's not, I did confirm that it is not shorting together with the meter. So there's our wrapped around jumpers, and this thing is definitely solid. It ain't going nowhere. So I don't think I'm going to do the hot snot this time. I don't know that that's actually adding much to the repair, so I think we'll just go with this, see how it goes. Like I said, it's never going to be pretty when you knock your connector off this board like this. So, but as long as it's sound and it's electronically correct and prepared, it should be good to go. Okay, and that's going to be really it for this repair. In summary, we just had a ripped off 5-volt connector. Everything should be fine now. They'll plug it in and test it at the shop. My job was to fix the connector. Like I said, there's really no pretty way to do it, but I think the copper tape solution is the most elegant way I've done it. Figured out how to do it so far. I know lots of people use like the Wick technique, the solid braid technique to do the anchors and stuff like that, and that works too. Do whatever works for you, but this is what works for me. If you have any questions about the equipment I use in this video, take a look in the description below. They're all Amazon linked down there, so if you click on any of those links and buy anything during that session, it doesn't even have to be one of those tools. A small percentage of that purchase will go to help the channel. Be greatly appreciated. There's some other links in the description if you would like, and memberships are lied to as well if you just like to take advantage of that instead. Again, appreciate it if you do. If you have any questions, please post them in the description below. I'll be happy to answer them, or direct you somewhere that can answer them. That's really all I had to ask of you. If you like the video, hit the like button. I guess it wasn't all I had to ask of you. And if you want to see more videos like it, hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll know when I post videos. Now that's all I had to ask of you. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.